Hey, everybody, it is Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show. I'm back here with another great guest today, Holly Shannon. Now, I met Holly through one of my inner circle members, Larry Roberts, actually introduced us and said, hey, you two need to connect. We did, found to be very interesting. I got to tell you, this time I actually had a pre-phone call with this person before I actually got her on the show. But it's all right. We still have a bunch of interesting things to find out about each other, and we're still going to make it an interesting show because let's face it, she's an interesting person. She's got a great background. Holly Shannon is someone who's in the online podcasting world just like me, and I'm sure we're going to talk about her podcast, talk about things she's done. I'm sure she's going to tell me things she's going to do because this woman here has got like visions of changing the world. Like, who doesn't anymore? All right. If they don't have visions, I usually don't hang out with them. You guys got to kind of know that. But anyway, Holly Shannon, all right, someone who's been in the online culture for a while. I could tell you all kinds of other things, but I'd rather get her on camera and let you guys watch us get to know each other even better while we're recording. Hi, Holly.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. I know I'm not good at introductions, but I promise the interview will get better.
That's okay. Do you want me to introduce? This is the Tim Gillette Show, and I'm Holly Shannon. So nice to see you.
I had to get you to record that for me ahead of time.
You got it.
I do want to. So one of these days, Holly, I want to do something so unique with my show where like I mail an envelope to people and they have to open it on camera. That's something I really want to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but one of these days.
That's all experiential. Yeah, You're so ahead of your time.
Tell that to my second grade teacher because she thought I'd never be here.
I think there's a lot of teachers that we should not talk about that were probably cut from the same cloth.
Yes. So, and I know both of us have. I've lived in the Northeast. You live in the Northeast, but you're not as far Northeast as anymore. And I'm really not Northeast at all anymore. But anyway.
So we're not suffering with the snow.
Are you getting any up there or no?
No, cool. Thank you. I'm not shoveling.
Yeah. My brother arrived here last night from Pennsylvania. And when he knew it was going to be snowing, he took off. And instead, he would normally drive across Tennessee. That's the normal path coming from where we used to live to where I live now. But because of snow, he said, screw this. He went all the way down through South Carolina and drove across the South through Alabama and everything. And he gets here and he goes, man, Alabama is a pretty state. I'm like, yeah, I visited once or twice, but yeah, it is a pretty state. No snow in that state. Yeah. Anyway, it is. I did get in the truck this morning to 28 degrees. And that's cold for me now. If it's 50 degrees, I put on a heavy coat. That's the way I have gotten to be living in the South.
Yeah, you sort of get acclimated to the new temperature, and then 50 degrees feels like 10 in New York City.
Yeah. So, but my brother, he walked out this morning. He goes, oh man, it's beautiful. I'm like, yeah, 22 years ago when I moved here, I thought that too. So. Well, anyway, this is about you today, Holly. I am excited to get you on here. So you're a podcaster now. You're doing stuff, but it wasn't always your world. I understand you came from the corporate world.
Yes, I was in the event space, which and I'd been in there for a long time, working in trade shows, conferences, boutique hospitality, but. Unfortunately, as I was really ramping up and starting to head towards the strategy side for events, the whole industry imploded with COVID, like so many other industries. We were not alone. It was huge. I mean, it's billions of dollars that are, lost to that whole industry. So in the spirit of reinvention, which is something that I do a lot, I went about doing that, and I ended up with a startup just helping them with their content strategy. And part of that solution for lead generation was to create a podcast. So I kind of fell into it a little bit accidentally. I have since rebranded the conversation around it and have taken over the show. We've parted ways. And so now the show is really taking a hard look at company culture and through the lens of emerging leadership, not just the C-suite, what the changing dynamic looks like with COVID, because obviously we're all working out of our kitchens. As you can see, I'm in mine. So it's just changing. Company culture is changing. Hierarchy looks different. Nobody's in a building anymore. So Culture Factor 2.0 was rebranded in October with that in mind.
Mm-hmm. I've got somebody down here in the Dallas area. I think I probably need to get you in touch with this guy, Darren Martin. I don't know if you know him. He's big in this. He's got a book on company cultures and stuff as well, that I think him and you would be a great conversation, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a predominant conversation around mental health and burnout, and I actually have been leaning in on that as well, somewhat, and working with a couple people to continue that conversation, or to allow me to be more robust about it, because that's not my background necessarily. But then again, with podcasting, you don't have to necessarily have that strength in the background. It's maybe being more a conduit, right? Like helping to usher forth the voices that inspire us and educate us. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, and on your podcast, are you doing like training types, or are you interviewing people who are leaders?
I'm interviewing leaders. It's a lot from the C-suite because that seems to be where culture is strategy, if you take that position. And I have been also trying to make sure that the voices are more diverse. I have absolutely nothing wrong with having white males on my show, because I've had many of them, if anybody goes to take a look. But I think it's also really critically important to have voices of female and underrepresented groups, because I think that, as I said, leadership is changing with this new climate. And I think if you don't represent different voices, then emerging leaders they don't see themselves, they don't hear themselves. So it's been my vision, actually, from the beginning. It was like my manifesto that I would not do the podcast unless 50% of the voices were female, even to begin with.
Yeah, I have a gentleman here in Dallas who does networking functions, and he's always, since the 80s, has wanted it to be a large percentage of women in his group. And in the beginning, in the 80s, they told him that would never happen. And surprisingly, 33 years later, he is still here. But I personally have always believed, and I think as leaders, we should believe that, leadership does not have a gender choice. It does not have a sexual preference. It does not have a color of skin. Leadership skills are developed by leaders, no matter who there are. That's just a fact. Yeah.
And so well said. I won't even reiterate what you said.
And I've always believed it, and I still believe it. All right. And it's true. All right. We've had some great leaders in our world that we never thought would be leaders. And we have had other leaders that we thought would be leaders who didn't. So it's not a manufactured skill. It's something that has grown within somebody, and it is not something that shows itself, like you said, as male or female. So glad that we got that underway.
So yes, that's the podcast.
So congrats and thanks for what you are doing. I don't know if you know Bob Donnell or not. Bob Donnell is a great friend of mine from Orange County, California. Another great leader. All right. And communication and stuff.
Hi. He's gone now, but tell him I said hi.
Yep. So Holly, all right, you now have gotten to the point where you're not working in the corporate culture. You're doing this all from home. Have you got a monetization strategy and stuff behind your podcast, or are you building another business with it and just using it as a tool to market it?
I had not entered into it thinking that I would turn it into a monetization tool. I think I headed into it helping that other company out, and then when that shifted and it became my focus, I actually have been trying to figure out what is the best move for it. It's such a relevant conversation, and I'm sort of about content needs to be important and impactful, and it'll find its audience and it will find its monetization, if you will. So I am maybe leaning in on being a little bit more patient with that. But that being said, when I did create the podcast, I took copious notes because it's just who I am. And when I started to look at the show, and if I couldn't rebrand it to today's conversation, then the shelf life would have expired for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it upon myself to write myself the manual, how to start a podcast again, because I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I had worked so hard at creating Culture Factor that I really just wanted to have like the Cliff Notes version for myself, if you will. Mm-hmm. So when I went about writing that so that I could launch another podcast, I realized that it was something that I should share. Mm-hmm. Other people would get a lot of value from it. And that's where Zero to Podcast was born. Mm-hmm. But that being said, it is technically a monetization tool for the podcast, because now I do have an advertisement that is my own mm-hmm. on the podcast. And I am able to put that on the book cover, and I am able to put that in the show notes on my podcast and on the clickable links on my ebook. So it accidentally turned into a monetization tool.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've listened to one of the podcasts I listened to is by the famous TV actor, Mike Rowe. And he does one of his podcasts where he's advertising his advertiser that month was his mom's book. And he goes, well, I can have my mom's book as an advertiser because it's my podcast.
Exactly.
It's your podcast. What do you want to do with it? Do it.
Right. No judgment, right?
Yeah, really.
I can advertise my own book.
Yeah. And I advertise my own events on mine. Come on. That's how I get my people in my events. So, but anyway, it's all about the process you create. Have you ever in your life sat down and went, I need to follow this line to be successful? Or are you the person who sits down and goes, I'm going to define what my success is. I don't care what the world says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd say the latter. I'm really good at breaking things and figuring it out myself. I think the great thing actually, and the podcast is a great representation of that. You don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So I could have, followed, somebody's lead. I could have called somebody up and say, can you build a podcast for me? Which there's nothing wrong with that, because I do that for people. But for me, I really enjoy the process. I'm very curious. I'm not afraid of, technical work and the research. But because I didn't know how to do it, there really was not necessarily a tried and true framework or a list, like you're saying, that I had to follow. I just sort of did it, and it came together. It worked. And that's usually what I try and tell other people. Go ahead and try and do it. Break a few things. You're not going to hurt anybody or anything. Or you get my book, or you hire somebody. I mean, there's many ways to get there, right? But I am definitely somebody who enjoys exploring. I've taken on a lot of different things in my life, from, my jewelry business years ago. I learned lost wax casting, but I also learned 3D printing. I just like learning. That's just who I am.
If you like learning and you're someone who keeps educating yourself, I take it then that your podcast and even everything you do in your business, the rule of success today probably won't be the same rule of success in 2022, I'm guessing.
No, I don't think so. I think there's just so many new things popping up. I think COVID pushed innovation in a really unique way. For example, Clubhouse is a new app that I'm enamored with, and that didn't exist really a year ago. I mean, it did, but it was, like in its beta launch. Now it's, much further along. And I think that business is being recreated even through that. I love it because it's such a compliment to audio, which is something you and I love, right, Tim?
Yeah. So, I mean, but then we get people who look at tools like that. They look at a podcast, or they can look at blogs, and they can look at anything in these eyes and go, well, that's that Facebook is just a time distractor. Everybody's arguing about politics over there. Or, that Clubhouse just wastes my time, or that app is just a waste of time. What is your answer to those questions of people who look at and going, well, that's just a waste of time?
You know, look, Facebook is not for everybody. Neither is Clubhouse. I think in being your original self, you've got to march to your own drummer. If having a podcast and talking about it and posting it on LinkedIn or in Instagram is your thing, if not doing Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live or jumping on Clubhouse audio is not your thing, then don't try to be that, and don't try and be everything to everybody. The other thing I would say is if you are launching anything, maybe pick one platform, because if you're on several things, it's really hard to understand where you're making an impact and where your audience is coming from. It gets a little diluted. So there's nothing wrong with staying really clean. Start your podcast or whatever you want to start, your business, and funnel your attention one way and see the results you get, and then decide if Facebook Live or Clubhouse audio is your thing,
Well, I mean, as opposed to then we take it to another step, and those people who like the audio versus the video. I personally didn't want to be on video for the longest time. I didn't want to be on audio either. I wanted to write my words. Realized that my audience loves seeing me on video. I don't know what you think is so sexy about this. This is, I look at this ugly thing in the mirror every morning. But there are people out there who don't want to get on video. They don't want to get on audio. What is your advice on that? Because we need to be somewhere.
Yeah, you know what? I think if you are not comfortable in a certain medium, it's going to be really hard to fake being comfortable. An overused word, authentic. It's going to be really hard to do that. If you're not comfortable on the screen, then find where you are comfortable. And if it is the written word or it's audio, then lean in on that. There's a lot of people that write incredible newsletters, and they don't have a podcast, and you don't see them on YouTube, streaming on there. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think you need to be on all of the platforms. Again, you might be diluting your energy, and you might be losing your audience, because you can't be everything to everybody. And, people who are listening to your podcast, if that's where you finally curate your work, they may not want to follow you on YouTube, because maybe they're listening to you while they're creating a beautiful dinner for their family or going for a walk, and they don't want to sit in front of a screen anyway. And maybe they just don't relate to how you present yourself on the screen.
Well, and it's good to have something in the background for motivation. I personally have like a TV screen going almost all day long, but the sound's not on. Right.
You're like my mother. I can't have that on in the background.
The sound, and it's like I used to watch news programs, and then something would come on. Oh, interesting. I turn the sound up and listen to it, and then I get caught up in it and get angry with it. And I'm like, okay, I can't watch news anymore. That's just it's killing my buzz, man. I can't do that.
You're probably better at multitasking, right?
No, I don't think I am. I think I'm a very one-track mind. I'm a guy. Let's face it. We're all one-track mind guys. Anyway, I admit it, but I could be wrong. So some interesting things I want to think about this, because you've kind of brought something up there that made me think about it. Some people need to use it for this. Some people need to use it for that. Do you have a creative type creative mode that you use to inspire you?
I have to be honest. I definitely love to read things. I am consuming other people's newsletters. I do read a lot of articles and a lot of books, and those things inspire me to move forward with certain podcasts. Like I said, it's finally curated for me. It's a really specific audience. I think it's really niche, really niche. And I think the people I interview also need to be that. Like, I don't want to interview, advisors and consultants all day, because really, if they're not boots on the ground with a huge team of people under them, it's harder to get underneath that conversation about company culture right now during COVID. I'm not trying to discredit their experience, because I have interviewed many consultants and advisors along the way. But we're in a different world right now. So if I'm going to be relevant and on topic, then I also need to be where that is. So yeah, I that's how I probably do the podcast. But For example, there's a huge intersection happening with Clubhouse for me, in that I'm having extremely relevant conversations with people there about the industry. So, just interacting with people, truly networking, like old school networking, on there, I'm learning about all these amazing, beautiful, wonderful people with a variety of voices and interests, and they're sharing things with me that are inspiring me for my show. So it cross pollinates, it informs, they all kind of work together.
Wow. And we got some comments here I want to bring up here because I've seen something here. Well, first of all, Patricia from North Carolina, she says, it's so funny that when I tell authors to have their books on hand to hold up for camera, they ask, I can do that? I'm like, of course, don't be shy. Sell that thing.
Patricia Murray, you're so right. Should I go run and get my book, Tim?
Do you even have a copy nearby?
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Go ahead. Mine's always right here. I can reach and grab it real quick. Anyway, of course, I have a copy of this book that's only available through Tim Gillette Media. Thank you, Tyler Duswalt. Anyway, yeah.
Patricia, thank you for hosting. The camera's doubling. Here we go.
There we go. Yep, there it is.
There we go. Thank you. She's so smart. And I will next time put a shelf behind me that I can prop my book up. I unfortunately have a picture behind me.
I have a shelf that has everything significant about my business. My event, my first book, my trademark, my original blog, my original whole thing. Next to it is my award for being an award-winning blogger. That's it, man. You've got to have everything. Broadcast it, baby.
Press play, Holly. Press play.
Broadcast it, baby. Anyway, well, now I want to take a twist with this because you were in the event space. Now, I know you're not in events like I host. You were in corporate events. Yeah. How do you see 2021 and 2022 going for events and podcasting or virtual events? I would love your opinion on that.
I think it's clear that 2021 is still going to be virtual. I don't think, I'm not saying there won't be any live events, but we don't really have a clear playbook how to get that right yet with testing, pre-testing perhaps, maybe having some type of machine you walk through that's UV that takes all the antibacterial whatever off of you. Like, I don't think, and I think also there's a perception where people are really nervous. I mean, they're nervous to go to the grocery store and get on a plane. So I think virtual is going to be the way to go. And then there's the whole vaccination train. It's going to be a while, a number of months before certain people, certain age groups become eligible. So I think we are looking at a 2022 to successfully hold a safe event again and to reinvent what it really looks like. And I actually am having conversations with people in that space that do live events, sort of leaning in a little bit on my old roots, those traditional, let's gather and hug and hold hands group. Because I think it's really important. I miss live concerts. I miss live events, and I think we all do. So I don't think they're going away. They were definitely on hold, but I think we're still virtual for another year.
And are you working with any clients as to help them put together virtual events or in this year?
No, I'm actually coming as an attendee or as a guest speaker in those spaces this year. I think I'm best positioned that way. I really did not school up to go from live events into virtual events, being behind the scenes and orchestrating that. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people that leaned in on that. I just didn't see that as my path.
Yeah.
I foresee myself probably dipping my toe back in the water for the live, where I think people want to be anyway. I think once we can all step away from some of the virtual events, we'll probably cleanse ourselves of that for a little while. I think there'll still be a presence of virtual. I think actually a lot of companies succeeded really well in that space, and so they'll do a hybrid, and they should. But I will see myself maybe being a speaker
Mm.
on live events, but I'm not sure that I'd be orchestrating.
Yeah. No, I actually interviewed last week on the podcast here. I interviewed speaker Bob Berg, legendary. This man's been in this for 30 years, and he basically said, "I'm done traveling to live events. I will only do virtual from now on." And I'm like, wow. But then again, I thought, he's got a name that he basically can say, "Hey, listen, you can have me on screen, or you can't have me at all," type deal. I'm not ready to say that.
No, you know what? Good for him. And you know what? I think that's great. I mean, I think that there's some people who just know what their new lane is, and I applaud him for that. I'm a meet and greet person. I'm a social person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to getting back out there and elbow bumping or fist bumping if it has to be that. I don't care. There is nothing that replaces the face-to-face, the eye-to-eye, sitting down, breaking bread at a table with a group of people and having intimate conversation and true networking of the first kind, not the really sad pop-up wine bar in the middle of a ballroom, but like really meaningful networking. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that myself.
Yeah, I'm looking back to having a live event, having a stage, and running my like dance party on the stage for people just to see who's willing to get on camera. Be crazy again, because I never did that before. So
I want to see you get up there and do something.
Tim don't dance. Yeah. Tim don't dance. Yeah, that's
We've got to do John Travolta's new TikTok dance that he did with his daughter
on the Super Bowl commercial. You seen that? Yeah, that was cool.
I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, that's what we were all like. Who is that? Oh, that's John Travolta. Yeah.
You're on challenge now, Tim. That's what you have to do.
Darn it. No, I was given a challenge by the guest I recorded this morning's podcast with a special guest whose event that we're doing. A lot of us are working this coming week and months, because she's doing a couple months worth of 100 interviews. And she was saying, well, once this is over, she's going to do a live event in Bali. And she goes, "You're coming, Tim, right?" And I'm like, Tim's never been out of the United States, right? And she goes, "Yes, you're coming, right?"
Wow. That's a good challenge. I'm glad she threw down the gauntlet. I like her. Tell her I'm going to come to Bollywood there and join in and watch.
Yeah. I'm like, and I said it to my mom as my mom and I ran out to get lunch, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my mom's like, yeah, I'm the only one of our kids that has never traveled the globe. Every one of our other kids, I mean, 2 of her sons were married in Singapore. I wasn't at the wedding. I was here.
Oh my gosh. Well, It's going to be a big change for Tim Gillette in 2022-ish.
Yeah. So, I mean, and my wife and my mom were going to go on in 2020. They were going to go on a cruise on the Danube River. And I was like, yep, have fun. Bye.
You're missing so much. I've had the luxury and the privilege to travel a lot throughout my life and to share that with my son. And it's really a wonderful thing to be immersed in different cultures and different sounds and smells. And it's so inspiring. You come back so rejuvenated and inspired. So I think you should do that. Now,
don't get me wrong on travel. I've experienced a lot of that all within the United States. You're looking at a guy who's rode 1 million miles on 2 wheels in these 48 states.
Nice. Look at you. Was it a hog or did you?
I had a custom Harley Davidson. This one here is that right there. High mileage. One of the top that year, it was 2011, and one of the top Harley chapters in the country. I was their high mileage high mileage person 2 years in a row. That I had more miles than anybody else in the chapter. And that was a chapter that was like one of the top three chapters of miles in the country,
Harley Davidson,
in the world, really. Yeah. And I was number 1 in them 2 years in a row. So, I mean, I've ridden, I've been to places. I mean, I'm looking now to trade my truck in to go to Jeep and going to do some Jeep things. But anyway,
maybe you need a Tesla next so that you could do the Tesla camping.
I don't know. I'm not fully sold on the Tesla thing yet. So
it's amazing.
I know. The guy at my Starbucks, because I was talking about getting a new truck, and he says, "Why don't you get that Tesla truck?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm still a diesel guy." Yeah.
All right. So Elon Musk, I love you, and I love Tesla. I'm just going to say it here. I just threw it down for the world to hear. But nothing will make combustion engines more obsolete than electric. And once you get behind the wheel and you realize like how fast that is,
Yeah, they go very fast.
I will tell you that in the first half an hour of driving one, I was so nauseous because I kind of used to race cars in high school. So I was like just putting it down. And I have to tell you, oh my God, it just from 0 to 60 so fast, like your body can't even catch up. And yeah, I was a little nauseous. So.
As opposed to me, I did race cars too, and I drive a diesel everywhere. And I feel diesel is the most environmentally friendly engine out there when you look at the whole picture. And I've always driven diesels, and they are not the fastest. Let me tell you, my truck's pretty fast.
You need a faster car, Tim.
Huh?
You need a faster car.
In 1988 or 87, all right, I owned a car that I got rid of in less than 24 hours because I got into it and I almost wrecked it. And it was so much power. I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready for that kind of power. I mean, I owned, if you remember the Buick Grand National, so much power. I had the Oldsmobile version, so much power. You know what I mean? I have all those. And I'm like, you know what? I can deal with power, but I'm not going to have that much all the time.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Some people like the power and they like the speed, and some people like the other side of it, which is more of like the performance. You know, my brother got behind the wheel of a Porsche years ago. My father bought used cars all the time. He bought a used Porsche, and it was so funny because he got behind the wheel and he was driving really slow, and he was like, "Do you feel the torque and the performance and how it really like hugs those corners?" And my husband was like, he got behind the wheel and it was like the pedal was all the way down going as fast. He's like, "Do you feel that torque? Do you feel how fast it goes?" Like some people are just, you know, they like speed and some don't.
Now that being said, my best friend who died in 2003 had bought a Ferrari 4 weeks before he died. And his brother ended up getting the Ferrari from him. And I had a car business, and I had his brother's car, but when his brother, right after his brother got the Ferrari, and I had his brother's Lexus, and my brother and I were racing on a toll road here called the Dallas North Toll Road. And I got his Lexus up to 165.
Wow.
We're sitting at Starbucks like 2 weeks later. And he comes in and he sits down and he says, "Well, I got the Ferrari up to 130 last night." And I looked at him. And my brother looked at him and I said, "Dude, I had your Lexus at 165. Keep up." And he goes, "My Lexus will do 165. I said, "Like actually 166." And it starts cutting out. And he goes, "When did you drive my car that fast?"
That is funny. That is funny.
But yeah, I've had my Harley out like West Texas, where you've got like a couple hundred miles of straight road. I've had my Harley out there up to 130 easy. And like literally you can just go and go and go and go and go. And like, because it's wide open. There's nobody out there. Yeah.
See, you need the Autobahn.
Yeah.
Tim Gillette needs the Autobahn.
And I've taken my Harley on the racetrack here, the Texas Motor Speedway. Mm-hmm. I was not as gutsy on the Texas Motor Speedway as I was on the straight roads. So
yeah, because you got to turn.
Yeah, that's it. Enough with cars, anyway. So, you know, it's been a fun time having you on here, and I look forward to working with you. You know what I mean? Having real events again. I really hope we do. But, you know, the other thing I wanted to say with it onto it, though, is, you know, you're supporting an awful lot of people in these virtual events. And what is it that you're bringing to the table as a speaker for those guys?
You cut out. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
For the people who are hosting virtual events and they want to hire you to speak at them, what is it that you bring to the table for them at their virtual events?
Well, I think I bring a couple different vantage points. In my study of company culture, I think that I have distilled a lot of interesting tactical steps from wonderful leaders around the country and around the world, actually, on how to lead companies and what's working and what's not working right now. I will be speaking soon at PodFest, actually, and that conversation will be exactly that. So I think I bring that to the table. The other side of it is I think that I really enjoy strategizing and looking at, you know, with my book, looking at the beginning stages when somebody's thinking of having a podcast. You know, there's millions of pages they could go on in Google and find out what kind of equipment to use and what software and everything. But at the end of the day, once you buy those things and implement them, they're on autopilot. But what you want to get right is your idea. And I think you want to understand, if you have a vision for it in the beginning, to understand that, or if you don't, to understand where it could go. And I'm not talking monetization so much as what you want to do with it. So I think that it would be really interesting to do a live interactive event where I literally sat there and different people from the audience could come up with their idea and we talk it out and we niche it down and we talk about what their vision for it is live so that people can watch that process and watch that person go through it. It's something that I'm doing on Clubhouse, and I have to tell you, it's giving me nothing but pure joy. I can't get held off of Clubhouse because I'm really dialing into what people are, they want to get their voice out there, right? They want to be on iTunes. They want to get their voice and their idea out there, but they're trepidatious. They're not sure. Do I have the right voice for it? Do I have the right idea? Is it not refined enough? Is it too refined? And then I'd like to do X with it, or can I do anything else with it, or just my podcast? So I actually think that would be a really cool live Clubhouse format, and to have me ideate and architect podcasts.
It's almost like we do the masterminds, almost like facilitating a mastermind on the very idea.
Yeah. So live mastermind, architect, zero to podcast, whatever you want to call it. That's where I think I would add value to.
That's a huge bring to the table there. I like that. So yeah. So it's been great having you on the show today. Before I go into my final bit here, what is the website that everybody can get a hold of you at?
This is easy. hollyshannon.com. That's my name. So please go there and you can follow me. I'm all over social media, and there's always some sort of iteration of Holly Shannon. On Instagram, Clubhouse, it's at Holly Shannon. On Instagram, it's Holly E. Shannon. So you'll find me somewhere. But yes, reach out to me on my website. Send me an email if I can help you in any way, or if you'd like to get my book.
Zero to podcast. Look at her model that book. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the audio, you are missing the whole video picture today.
I held it up, everybody.
So Holly, it's been great having you on the show. As you have heard, I finished my show with a little game called This or That.
Oh, I'm nervous about this part.
Tim has picked out 9 questions. 9 questions, 2 choices. You pick one. Maybe there'll be a conversation. Maybe you'll be like, yeah, just whatever, Tim, get lost. Yeah, but I love to see if my questions really can tell the world about Holly Shannon.
Okay, I'm nervous.
All right, here we go. Number 1. It's an easy one. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. All right. Do you watch either one of them?
Yeah, I've watched all the Star Wars with my son.
Okay, cool. My second one here can get into personal clothing, all right? Since I'm a Southern boy, are you into wearing heels or boots?
Oh, good cowboy boots, fun, actually.
All right. Now I like this girl.
And a motorcycle boot.
Yeah. Motorcycle boots, cowboy boots, the 2 boots I'm known for having around here. My wife, too. My wife's got some beautiful boots, so. How about this one here? We've been in COVID and we've been stuck in the house for over a year now. Are we still dressing up, or are we wearing yoga pants?
50-50, I have to say. Some days are yoga, but right now I have on a pair of pants. So, are you wearing a tutu? What are you wearing?
No, I've got these slip over things that are comfortable. I bought a bunch of them for like $50, and I'm sick of paying to have my dress shirts done every week. I'm just wearing comfortable clothes, and I'll put the dress shirt on for when I speak.
No, but you didn't answer my question. Are you wearing yoga pants or a tutu?
Me? Maybe I'm only wearing my underwear.
TMI. Come on.
That's why I don't stand up on my podcast. You ever think about that? Okay, we digress. Ladies and gentlemen, how about this one here? Coffee or tea in the morning to wake up?
Oh, coffee. 100%.
Now, are you like a coffee or are you like a frou-frou Starbucks drinker?
Oh, no. I'm a coffee snob and I make no apologies. I have Bulletproof, Lavazza, Kicking Horse. I go to Blue Bottle. I like a nice dark roast. I do like a little half and half in it or butter. I don't use sugar. I like a real mug, and I have one in the morning, and I usually have one after lunch.
Yeah, I'm an espresso in the morning, but I have a French press same thing. I got these coffees. I make me a French press. Now, I worked for Starbucks for 5 years, and I go into a Starbucks and they're doing a French press, and they're tasting. I'm up on it. I walk up to the manager. Hey, can I do a tasting with you guys? Because I love to taste espresso. So
yeah, I do too. I'm really I don't love. I used to love Starbucks, but I have to say Blue Bottle's my favorite when I'm walking around the city and I want a coffee. And every once in a while, I have to admit, I will get a cafe mocha.
Yeah.
But their cafe mocha is a real piece of dark chocolate, pulverized.
I've had that. Oh my God.
Yeah, really low sugar content, pulverized into there. So it's a real rich chocolate flavor. You see, I'm a chocolate snob too. So.
And it's funny because like I used to have several cups a day, and I used to go to like Starbucks. Starbucks is just convenience here. The closest personal tiny coffee shop is a couple miles away, and I don't feel like driving that far, but still I would rather have my coffee, espresso pulled from an old fashioned machine at you know what I mean? An off the brand, off the beaten path espresso shop. But anyway,
which is why you need to go to Italy.
Yeah, I've heard that. So, so let's move on and stay within the food category and go to tacos or hamburger.
I'm going to say tacos right now because I've really been we went to Austin and we basically went all over the place trying tacos everywhere. And I love a good fish taco.
Yeah. So I had to say, you know, it's like we go to different towns and look for things to taste. So tacos, like here, you know, I live in Texas, so we find a lot of good ones. I remember some of the best tacos I ever had was when I worked in the car wash industry, and this guy used to come around in the trunk of his Datsun, had the stove and everything set up, and he would make you the taco out of the trunk of his Datsun. Best tacos ever, any place. I mean, and this guy was he probably snuck over the border, whatever you want to believe on that, but still, he knew how to cook tacos.
I love it.
Yeah. How about in the evening? Are you having a glass of beer or a glass of wine?
I would lean towards wine, although in the summertime, I do enjoy a beer. I like a Pacifico with a little slice of lime or something like that, something a little lighter and brighter. But I do enjoy wine as well.
Yeah.
I'm an equal opportunity employer, and I like bourbon too.
How about in the car nowadays? Are you listening to podcast or audio, or are you listening to music?
Podcasts or Clubhouse.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Now we get into the last two are the controversial questions that everybody wants to know about my listeners. And the first one being the toilet paper. Does it go over on the roll at your house or under?
Over. Don't even talk to me about under. In fact, if anybody comes to my house and they use up the toilet paper and they put it on under, I have to go back and fix it.
So one of the greatest interviews I had on here was this girl, Cammie from up in New England. And she actually came on. She goes, I'm a single guy and I have broken up with our single girl. And I've broken up with guys who I go to their house and change that toilet paper more than twice. Gotta be old.
Funny.
That's my best one. And I keep telling her she's the most quoted person on my podcast from it. So
I love that.
The last one here can be a little personal, but I always ask it anyway. And that is boxers or briefs.
Oh, that's a good one. I prefer briefs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not tighty whities, just briefs, like a gray or black color, kind of fitted. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, it wasn't that hard of a test.
I love that.
And I actually hit the trash can every time.
No way. How many times did you actually get it in?
I actually get it in the trash can 9 out of 10 times. I hit the trash can when I do that because I'm so used to doing it and watching myself in the camera. I know where to throw it.
Wow, that's impressive.
You got to have a shtick on your podcast. That's my shtick. So.
Maybe like the Harlem Globetrotters will invite you in to like throw it backwards over camera and try and get it in.
Nah, no, that's all right. I'm not a basketball player. I love watching my Dallas Mavericks when they win, but I do watch them when they lose a lot. But anyway.
That's okay. You have to show the love.
Yeah. So, well, Holly Shannon, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. It has been a fun time, definitely having you on here. One more time, tell everybody on the audio and video so they can get your website.
hollyshannon.com. Please come check it out.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. And to you, the listener, I want to thank you for being here today, checking out our show. Please go check out Holly Shannon. Again, this show works because we introduce you to the great people. Please go check out our guest today, Holly Shannon. Check her out on Clubhouse. Check her out online. But stop by her website. Show her some love and let her know that you care about her. I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show, and I'll be back again soon with another podcast just for you. Talk to you later now, guys. Bye.